Hello everyone, welcome to Loddon Valley, where we are underway between the Reading Rockets and the Sheffield Steelers in BWB Premier League action. As Lee Fryer with the first shot of the game, and it's missed for the Steelers. Here is Elliott Smith for the Rockets. This is Reading's first home game of the campaign. Lovely dump-off pass and the finish inside by Ronnie Castles off the feed from Ben Trigler-Polton. This is a very different Reading Rockets team to last season. Many new faces, two of them there combining for the first score of the game. And at the other end, Bates with his first field goal. Of course, George Bates, a prominent fixture in this Sheffield Steelers lineup, as is this man on the ball for the Rockets, Reece Barker. Trigler-Polton finds a bit of room, but blows the layup. And here comes Harvey for the Steelers. Back to Bates, same position, same result. And the Steelers take an early 4-2 lead. Elliott Smith is fouled by Tom Harvey. Elliott Smith, a mid-range in and out, rebounded by Bates. Bates now looking for Fryer, well cut off there by Barker. Ball is loose, Elliott Smith collects, and here is Trigler-Polton now off to the races. Trigler-Polton again misses the layup. He's had two good looks at the basket early doors. Harvey now bobbing and weaving his way to the cup, and he'll go to the line for two. Tom Harvey to the line for a couple, misses the first. And Harvey makes the second, so the Steelers out to a 5-2 lead in the early going here in this BWB Premier Division match. Of course, today's other game between the Reading Rockets and the City of Birmingham Rockets in the BCB Championship has been called off. We'll have more on that a bit later on as Barker buries a two. Harvey. Fryer, Lee Fryer goes to the glass, doesn't get it to fall. Of course, Fryer collecting a silver medal recently in Sarajevo with the GB men's team, as Barker doesn't get that to fall. And here's Maddie Martin. Elliott Smith, three to shoot for Reading. Throws it up, and that smacks the backboard, and that'll go out of bounds, and Sheffield have it. As Bates puts in a two. Hopefully you can hear me now. It was a bit quiet to start, wasn't it? There we go. Here is Ronnie Castles. Ronnie Castles to the basket, gets it to fall. Well, right now, Reading trading blows with Sheffield here in the early going. Bates. Putting the moves on Trigger Polton, kicks it out to Fryer, marked by Martin. Lovely pass inside and the finish from Matt Travers. 9-6 in the early going. We've played just on 4 minutes. Here is Barker. Reece Barker was looking for Elliott Smith as the trailer, but his path was crossed. And Barker goes it alone, doesn't fall. Rebounded by Jess White, and the ball is loose, and Reece Barker collects. Great hustle on the defensive end by the Rockets here. Elliott Smith in one of his favorite spots, but can't get that to fall. Harvey rebounds. Here is Bates. And now Fryer leads the break. Harvey kisses it off the glass, no good. On the follow was Travers, and Tom Elliott Smith on the deck. 11-6 in favor of the Steelers. Of course, there was meant to be a BCB game in the championship today, featuring the Reading Rockets and the City of Birmingham Rockets. That game has been called off due to a leak on one of the sides of the court. This game, though, still going ahead as planned. As Bates has the ball, here is Harvey, dumps it off to Fryer. Fryer, very patient, gets it to fall. Waited for Barker to commit himself and put in the easy two. Of course, Lee Fryer, as mentioned, recently part of that Great Britain team that narrowly lost out in the IWBF European Championships in the final to Spain in Sarajevo. Maddie Martin, of course, part of the women's team who lost out narrowly to the Netherlands in the women's gold medal game. Reece Barker. 4:39 to play in the first. Maddie Martin can't hang on to the pass. It's collected by Fryer, and now out in transition. Harvey does well to collect, and Bates gets it to go, and a foul. Beautiful transition basketball from the Steelers, and George Bates, the beneficiary. And with 4:27 to play, 15 plays 6 in favor of the visiting Sheffield Steelers. Timeout called by the Reading Rockets. Of course, you might see on one corner of the court as Grant Barker, the Rockets head coach, just having a chat with his team. You see the Sheffield Steelers there. And right on the left corner, you see Rockets team manager Lou Barker there with mop in hand. Of course, there has been a leak on the roof of Loddon Valley today. There was heavy rain across the south yesterday, and it has affected this facility, and as a result, the men's game in the BCB, the Rockets against the Birmingham Rockets, has been called off today. The wheelchair game, though, as you see before you, continuing on as planned, with Lou there just in case there are any spillages. As Bates goes to the stripe for the Steelers and can't connect, so a double-digit opportunity squandered there for Sheffield. Reading now looking to cut the gap with 4:16 to play here in the first. Here is Reece Barker along the baseline. Again, patient this time from Barker. Sets himself and banks it home. That was a pretty move from Reese Barker. Almost carbon copy of what Lee Fryer did in the earlier possession. Just waited for the right shot to come and then pulled the trigger and kissed it off the window. Now for Reading, a chance to get a stop here. Fryer inside, Lee Fryer, will head to the stripe. Product of the Wakefield Warriors, Lee Fryer, and had a impressive European Championship. Now going to the stripe for the Steelers, and it's 15-8 at this present time. Fryer misses the first. Fryer misses them both. Here is Barker. Lobs it wide. Trigler-Polton can't hang on. Ball goes out of bounds. And Sheffield will take possession. Harvey, here is Fryer, marked by Martin. Two GB internationals going at it. Harvey from the foul line. Trigler-Polton nearly got it stolen by Fryer, keeps his dribble alive. And straight away, Reese Barker misses the two, and now Sheffield breaking out in transition. Bates all alone to the basket. That's too easy for him. And right now, the Steelers leading it 19-8. And now Trigler-Polton's pass intended for Castles. He can't hang on, and needless turnovers here from the Rockets, and Sheffield taking advantage. This time, Tom Harvey in transition. And a foul called on George Bates. That'll be his first foul of the day. Our two officials for today's game, David Kingston and Francis Krameric. Ben Trigler-Polton just adjusting something there. In fact, he's taking off a necklace. Accidentally left that on. Well, nearly 8 minutes of court time, and it's only just been noticed. And now Trigler-Polton will bring the ball up now for the Rockets, formerly, of course, of the London Titans. Here is Elliott Smith looking for Barker inside. Barker can't get the finish. And on the follow was Ronnie Castles. He's had a fantastic first quarter thus far. Ronnie Castles, Lee Fryer now full head of speed. Bates did well to collect that. The baseline jumper rattles it in over Elliott Smith. Final 2 minutes of the first period. And the Steelers up by 13. Trigler-Polton has it, still keeping his dribble alive. Castles, and a foul call just before Ronnie Castles got the pass out. Foul has been called on Matt Travers. That'll be his first foul into the game for the first time. Daniel Smith for the Rockets. Tom Elliott Smith heads to the bench. And here is Smith. Trigler-Polton. Smith, a decent mid-range shooter, but this time off. Fryer just about hangs on. Fryer still has it. Fryer gliding to the basket, gets it to go, and a foul. What a pretty move from Lee Fryer. Sublime basketball. Cutting his way to the basket. Found a little room along the baseline, threw it up, and it dropped in. And the Steelers up 15-10. And Fryer finally gets a foul shot to go after missing his first two. 1:23 to play. Barker a three. Short, rebounded Harvey, collected by Bates. Again, the lob pass intended for Fryer. Harvey, back to Fryer. Shot clock in single figures, offensive foul has been called. It's on Neve Watson, that'll be her first foul. Final minute of the first period. Barker can't get that to fall. In fact, 3-second violation has been called on the Reading Rockets number 17. 53.1 to play. Fryer from the elbow, long, rebounded Barker. And now Reese Barker looking to push. 3-on-2 here, Reading have the numbers. Trigler-Polton, one pass too many. Fryer intercepted the pass. Fryer still has it, looks inside to Bates, under the hoop, gets it. Right now, Fryer and Bates doing all the damage for the Sheffield Steelers. Final seconds of this first period. Reese Barker. Here is Smith, lobs it. And that's off to the right, or off to the left, excuse me, and that'll do it for the end of the first period. And the Sheffield Steelers, led by Fryer and Bates, dominating the Reading Rockets early doors here, 28-10 at the end of the first period. Reading have certainly traded blows, though, with the Sheffield Steelers, particularly in the early going. But as the first quarter progressed, the Steelers found their groove, and as a result, lead by 18 going into the second period here. Of course, the first home game of the season for the Reading Rockets here in the BWB Premier Division. Second season for the Aldermore Reading Rockets here in the top flight of British wheelchair basketball. Really handled themselves well last season, but this season a completely new team. With several new faces, amongst those Sam Hill, who of course plays her basketball in the WPL for the Cardiff Met Archers. Ben Trigler-Polton, as we've seen, who spent last season at the London Titans. So as we get set to start the second period, and Reading trailing by 18 here. Polton. Still has it. Reese Barker. Shot clock at 9. Barker doesn't get that one to fall. And the ball will go out of bounds. That'll be a Reading ball. Last came off Harvey. Barker. Smith over Harvey. In and out with the 2 from the foul line. It's rebounded by Bates. It's lobbed forward, and Lee Fryer with probably the easiest 2 points he'll get all afternoon. Mitten. Barker. 6 to shoot for the Rockets. The runner is no good, but Sam Hill there to pick up the loose change. She doesn't get it to fall. Ball is loose. Hill again has it. Can't get it to fall that time either. Reading will keep it. Great hustle there from Sam Hill on the offensive glass. Five to shoot. Mitten off the back iron. It's rebounded by Matt Travers. Here is Fryer. Bates has had so much joy along the baseline, and he hits another one. Smith. Trigger Polton lobs it up, gets it to go. I'm not sure how much of the basket he saw there, but got the layup to fall. Harvey lets fly. That's off the back iron. And Bates under the basket, and again Bates gets it to fall. Sam Hill on the floor at the other side. Here is Mitten. Mitten gets it back. Mitten now driving along the baseline, swiped away by Fryer. Now Fryer finds Harvey. Harvey slows it down. And the score inside from Matt Travers. And a timeout called by the Rockets with 7:16 to play. Well, 7:16 to play in the second period, and it's all Sheffield right now. They lead 36-12. There is Smith. Into the game for the first time. Whistle has gone, but Daniel May into the game for the first time. Another new face to this Rockets side this season. Shot no good there from Smith. And here is Fryer. Fryer now putting on the jets, gets it to go, and a foul. Lee Fryer, just too quick, too strong for Daniel May, and he'll go to the line for a bonus. As Fryer buries the extras. 39-12 now. 3 minutes and a bit of change played here in the second period. May. Smith. Excuse me, that's Mitten. Excuse me. Alex Mitten still with the ball. 6 to shoot now for the Rockets. Pass is deflected, the ball is loose. May has got to heave one. He gets it to go, a long two. Daniel May. What a way to get your first Premier Division points for the Reading Rockets. Fryer dumps it off, Bates falling away short, rebounded Elliott Smith. Elliott Smith still has it. In fact, an 8-second violation has been called on the Rockets. Couldn't get it over the timeline quick enough. Fryer. Fryer is fouled by Hill. Will be her first foul of this contest. Second team foul for the Rockets. Fryer. Bates. Bates. Well, he's missed one from there now. Usually automatic from the baseline. Hill just about collects. And it's a 3-second violation called on Sam Hill, who had Matt Wilson and George Bates for company. Here is Fryer. Fryer dumps it off. Bates can't get it to fall. Harvey on the follow. No. Rebounded Elliott Smith. Reading getting some good stops. Just need to convert them into points. Sheffield, though, have started to miss shots they've been making all throughout the first period as Sam Hill is on the deck. Reading continue to play on. Smith strings a two. Halfway through the second. Fryer dumps it off. Harvey inside. Tom Harvey, of course, a bronze medalist with the Great Britain under-23 team in Brazil back in June. And as soon as he gets that score, immediately fouls Daniel Smith at midcourt. Here is Smith. Goes for three, buries a three. Daniel Smith from downtown. Much needed triple from the Rockets. Bates finds Fryer. Fryer, a mid-range, kisses it off the glass. As a whistle has gone on the other side. 4:10 to play. As a substitution will come in, Brad Thompson will check into the game for the Steelers, and George Bates heads to the bench. Elliott Smith under the basket, can't get it to go. How many times have we seen him make that? And on this occasion, short. Fryer looking to capitalize, puts the Jets on again. And Reading right now really having issues containing Lee Fryer's quickness. And it's back to the stripe for Fryer. And rattles in the first. And in and out with the second. Elliott Smith. Mitten. Mitten finds May, and May, whistle is gone. I think May was out of bounds. He was. Fryer straight to the basket. And again, Lee Fryer will head to the foul line. Right now, Lee Fryer just having his way with the Reading defense. Timeout called on the floor as Grant Barker wants to have a chat with his side. 3:31 to play here in this second period. The Steelers lead it 44-19. So 3:31 to play. Fry will go back to the line for the Steelers. Now Reading with no more fouls to give now in this second quarter, so any other foul will result in foul shots for the Steelers, and whenever Lee Fryer's on the floor right now, that'll benefit him and the Steelers just nicely, but he splits the foul shots. Here is Elliott Smith. May. Hill inside. Hill again patient to get the shot off, and did well to get the shot off, but couldn't get it to fall. And now Sheffield in transition with Fryer. Smith does very well to block his path this time. May comes to help. The dump off pass to Harvey, no good. Smith gets the rebound, whistle is gone. And the foul has been called on Harvey as well. Grabbing onto Smith as he was getting the rebound, so now the Steelers with no more fouls to give. As substitutions coming in for the Steelers, Harvey will come out. And into the game for the first time, Joe Williams for the Sheffield Steelers, the number 17. As Reading making substitutions as well, as Jade Loughlin comes into the game for the first time. Mitten goes to the bench. And a whistle has gone. And it will be foul shots for Tom Elliott-Smith. Sheffield in the penalty, 2:42 to play here in the half. And some much needed foul shots and trips to the line for the Rockets in this one, but you've got to make your foul shots, as Elliott-Smith misses the first. Elliott-Smith rattles it in for the second. But the Steelers with a commanding 25-point lead here, as Fryer just gliding to the basket. Goes along the baseline, but is long. And here is Elliott-Smith. Chance for Reading to break here, but Sheffield get back in numbers. Hill inside. Sam Hill with her first field goal for the Rockets. And a steal for Elliott-Smith. And he puts it in. Back-to-back scores for the Rockets. Much needed as well. Great hustle on the defensive end. Bit of a lapse in concentration from Sheffield. Fryer. And the shot rattles in from Matt Wilson. A minute and 35 to play. Elliott-Smith for the shoot. Loughlin. Lovely pass inside. Smith can't get it to fall as the shot clock was winding down. A minute and 10 to play here in the half. Fryer. Inside, Thompson does well to collect, agonizingly drops out. Loughlin the rebound, nearly stolen by Fryer. Loughlin recovers, but they've got to get it over the timeline. And Fryer with the easy steal. It probably would have been an 8-second violation had he not collected it. Final 40 seconds. Fryer along two, short, rebounded Hill. Final 30 seconds on the half. Jade Loughlin. Smith has room. Can't get it to fall. Fryer with the rebound, and here is Bradley Thompson all alone in transition. Final seconds of the half. Here is Smith. Lobs it to Hill. Hill can't hang on. It was a good look from Smith, but asking just a little too much of Sam Hill, who did so well to get a hand on it. As Fryer lobs it, and it smacks the backboard, and that'll do it for the first half. And a positive ending for the Aldermore Reading Rockets in that second quarter, but it's been the George Bates and Lee Fryer show for the Steelers. They lead 49-24 at the half.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Sounds better. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Loddon Valley, where the Reading Rockets trail the Sheffield Steelers 49-24 going into the third period. And so far, so good as far as the game is concerned, as the game that was going to come after this game, the BCB Championship clash between the Aldermore Reading Rockets and the City of Birmingham Rockets, has been postponed due to a leak on the far side of the court near to where the Sheffield Steelers bench is. Of course, doesn't affect the action for the wheelchair basketball side. But right now, trailing 49-24. There's a solid first half from Lee Fryer and George Bates have really done the damage. As Reading Rockets' starting five will start the third period here against the Steelers. Fryer, Bates. Fryer collects it back. Fryer sees a little bit of room inside. Great patience. But a 3-second violation. It was good patience there from Matt Travers, but good defense by Ronnie Castles. Reading have had good stops in this contest, just haven't converted them into points. And themselves have been victims of some needless turnovers as well, but Sheffield have converted on those possessions as Barker misses the midi. Lobbed by Bates, welcomed in by Fryer. Castles comes to help out. Fryer a two, no good. Great defense from Ronnie Castles. Patient, got his hands up. Barker lobs it to Elliott Smith, and a whistle has gone. Barker. Shot clock in single figures for the Reading Rockets. Got to do something here with it, Barker. Shot clock at 2. Puts it up, knocks it down. Well, way to use the entire shot clock all on your own. Reading getting some good points on the board, but they need a few more stops, as the advantage is still long here for the Steelers. Another steal from the Rockets. Castles is fouled. He hits the deck. Barker. Plenty of time on the shot clock for the Rockets. Bounce past to Trigler-Polton. That was a beautiful find from Reese Barker. And Ben Trigler-Polton will head to the line. Beautiful link-up play, seeing Trigler-Polton cutting back door. And he'll go to the stripe for a couple. 49-26 in favor of the Steelers. But Reading have started this third quarter brightly. They ended the second quarter fairly brightly as well. And bobbles in the second. Fryer gliding to the basket, stops, and Sheffield will reset. Fryer was almost too quick for his teammates, gets it back. White can't bank it home, gets her own rebound. Bates along the baseline, heavily marked, and this time it rattles out. Barker collects the glass. Barker now all the way. Barker off balance. Barker the finish. Reese Barker doing it all alone again. And now it's a 20-point game. Bates on the catch. Doesn't get it to fall. Gets his own rebound. And Elliott Smith swats it away before Bates could get the shot off. Tom Harvey will check in. And Joe Williams will head out. George Bates, though, getting his own rebound, and then just before he pulled the trigger, it was swatted emphatically away by Tom Elliott Smith. Bates. Fryer. 6 to shoot. And again, the ball goes loose and the ball goes out of bounds. Another turnover for the Steelers. And now the Rockets can get it to below 20 with this offense. Great fighting here from the Rockets. Barker again. Barker gets it to go. It's an 18-point game. Tremendous resilience being shown here from the Reading Rockets. And the ball goes out of bounds. It will stay with the Steelers. Ball came off the hands of Elliott Smith last. And now Sheffield calling a timeout. Brilliant spell by the Reading Rockets. Grant Barker's got to be very happy with what his team is producing right now in the early stages of this third period. 31 to 49. Well, after a very strong first half of play from the Steelers, they're being pegged back a little bit here by the hometown Reading Rockets. Can this timeout ignite the Steelers back into their old ways, or can the Rockets keep their momentum going here? A lot of fight, a lot of resilience. Great tenacity from the team in red. Fryer dumps it off to Bates. Ball goes out of bounds. It'll be a Reading ball. Great hands in the paint. I think that might have been Castles and Elliott Smith. Barker. Again, Reading with a chance to eat away at the deficit. Martin inside. And Martin's pass intended for Barker goes out of bounds. Wasn't enough room for Martin to try and get a shot off. More of a defensive-minded player, Maddie Martin. But was the first Reading player to register a field goal last season in their first Premier Division home game, as a whistle has gone. And that foul will be on Elliott Smith. That'll be his third foul of the game, as Ben Trigler-Polton just being helped up by Maddie Martin. Harvey at the top. Fryer putting the moves on Trigger Polton. Fakes, gives it up to Harvey, who's off with the 2. And the ball will go out of bounds, and Martin wisely getting in the way of Harvey so he couldn't get the rebound. Barker misses everything. Castles did well to keep that in, but Bates collects the loose ball. Bates now lobbing it to Fryer, and a whistle has gone. And a foul is called on Reece Barker. That's his second foul, who just has a few words with our official, Francis Krameric, who laughs back. A few jokes in there between the two. Fryer. Ball is deflected. It's loose, and it's collected by Travers. Here is Fryer, the pass to Bates. 2 to shoot for the Rockets. Great defense from Martin. Fryer throws it up. Ball is loose again. It's a very scrappy sequence here. And it will be a Rockets ball. Possession arrow favors the Rockets. It was an incredibly scrappy offense there from the Steelers. Maybe one pass too many. And Bates, who wanted that baseline shot, was swarmed by 2 Reading defenders. And there's another whistle has gone. It's a foul. I think it's on Tom Harvey. So it'll be a Reading ball from the side. Foul away from the ball. And that'll be Harvey's 4th foul. 5:16 to play in the 3rd period. Well, Reading have forced Sheffield into numerous turnovers, and Sheffield could sense getting a little frustrated with how this 3rd quarter is progressing. Barker over Fryer, short. Rebounded by Harvey, collected by Bates. Fryer fading away. Fryer no good. And Sheffield's woes continue here. Barker. And now another whistle has gone. As the officials now having a chat to both Lee Fryer and Tom Elliott-Smith. Trigger Polton has it. Barker. Shot clock at 3. Barker's got to heave something. And doesn't get it to fall. Fryer with the rebound, and now the lob pass to Bates. We saw this throughout the first half. And finally, Sheffield gets some points on the board. Barker, right down Main Street. Can't get it to fall. White with the rebound. 6 minutes played in the 3rd. Fryer can't get the first, gets the second though. And a whistle has gone and a foul has been called on Fryer. And that'll be Sheffield in the penalty with that foul as well. Needless foul from Lee Fryer. There's substitutions coming in for the Rockets. First time today we'll see Ella Archer. And also back into the game, Daniel Smith. Ella Archer, a former Great Britain under-25 silver medalist. Now in her second season with the Rockets. As Trigger Polton and Martin come out. And the first free throw, no good for Castles. Splits the foul shots. Here is Fryer under the basket, and again, hands all over Fryer. There was 3 Reading defenders there, and referee David Kingston almost has his pick of who to call the foul on. It'll be on Ronnie Castles. That'll be his second foul. Tom Elliott-Smith and Reese Barker were also in the facility. Only Reading's 13th foul, though. Sheffield in the penalty. Bates going inside. Can't get it to fall. They'll get a couple at the line. Bates and Reese Barker just exchanging some friendly words. Well, I'm sure they were friendly words. As Barker is called for his 3rd foul. But misses the first. And makes the second. Well, 3:36 to play in the 3rd period, and this has been certainly a promising 3rd quarter for the Rockets. Just need to keep that momentum going. Smith inside, Castles off balance, doesn't get it to fall. Fryer collects the loose change, and now right out in transition, Harvey with Barker in for company. Barker fouled Harvey going to the basket. Smart play from Harvey, just putting the brakes on the wheels. And Reese Barker committed as Neve Watson comes in for the Steelers. Jess White heads to the bench. .3:15 to play in this 3rd period. And Harvey misses the first. Harvey misses them both. Normally a very disciplined shooter from the foul line, Tom Harvey. But not on this occasion. But a turnover from the Rockets. Bates, good defense from Castles though. Ball is still in. Bates under the basket, gets it to go. Uses a bit of English. And kisses it off the backboard and down. Barker, back to the basket. Archer in support. Barker, Castles inside, little off balance, gets it to fall. How about Ronnie Castles in this game? Bates, off balance, whistle goes. And both teams in the penalty. And the foul is going to be on Castles. And that'll be his 3rd foul of this contest. Bates misses the first. And Bates splits the foul shots. 2:25 to play in this third period. 57-34, Barker in trouble. They've got to get it over the timeline here, Reading, and Fryer with the steal. Good defense from the Steelers. Fryer in a bit of trouble. Here is Bates. Plenty of time on the shot clock for the Steelers. And I think that'll be a 3-second violation. Yes, it will, on Matt Travers. Timeout called on the floor with 1:59 to play, and the Steelers slowly finding their groove, but certainly been a strong third period thus far for the Reading Rockets. However, the Steelers still lead big with 1:59 to play here in the third. Well, under 2 to play in the third period here on the Reading Rockets YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. Of course, the first season of the Reading Rockets era without Liam Barker. Liam now playing out in Spain. Played his first game for Getafe last night against Ilunion. Of course, Ilunion with Terry Bywater, Greg Warburton for company. There's the finish there from Matt Travers, and the Steelers out to a 59-34 lead. Barker, only Archer for support. Reese Barker gliding to the basket, goes close in and puts it down. Bates finds Harvey inside, fouled. I believe that's by Tom Elliott-Smith. Just as Harvey was going for the layup, I think he was clipped by Elliott-Smith. Referees just having a chat. David Kingston and Francis Krameric just deciding what the call will be. It will be an unsportsmanlike foul on Tom Elliott-Smith, who protests his innocence. That's 4 fouls on Elliott-Smith. So Tom Harvey gets foul shots, and Sheffield will have possession. The substitutions come in for the Rockets. Elliott-Smith will actually head to the bench now. Sam Hill will check in. Of course, Sam Hill did very well in her first minutes earlier on as a Reading Rocket. A lot of great hustle on the offensive glass. Got a couple of good looks as well. And with Elliott-Smith now in foul trouble, she will no doubt see extended minutes now. And a violation has been called against Sheffield as Neve Watson with an illegal pass out the inbounds there. So Reading will get the ball back. Smith, nearly stolen by Fryer. Barker did well to collect. Can't get it to fall though. Bates rebounds. Now Fryer, under a minute to play in the third. Fryer full head of speed. Bates inside. Bates goes to the line instead. That would have been devastating transition basketball there had that gone in. But instead, George Bates will go to the line for his points the old-fashioned way. As George Bates rattles in the first. And gets them both. As we have another substitution for the Rockets as Ronnie Castles comes out. And Todd Travers comes in for the first time, promoted from the Division 2, or the second team for the Rockets that play in Division 2. Barker, marked by Fryer as Hill hits the floor. And Reading will reset their offense. 41.8 to play in the third. Barker. Barker on the catch and shoot, doesn't get it to fall, rebounded by Bates. Now George Bates straight down Main Street, and he gets it to fall. George Bates seeing a slither of room and took full advantage. And Sheffield have certainly ended this third quarter brightly. Offensive foul has been called on Barker. And Reese Barker has now fouled out of the game as Tom Elliott-Smith, also on 4 fouls, checks back in. And you have to say that's Reading's arguably biggest offensive threat now taken out permanently in this contest. Final seconds of the third. Bates, Fryer is open. Fryer lets fly. Fryer buries a 3 to end the third. The exclamation point of a strong third period for the Steelers after a very scrappy beginning for them, allowing Reading to come to within 18 points. And then as the third progressed, Sheffield found their groove and now have a very commanding 66-36 lead heading into the fourth period. Well, as we begin the fourth period, it will be a Reading possession, trailing by 30 against the Sheffield Steelers. Here is Daniel May. Daniel May with the mid-range, gets the friendly drop. Second field goal for Dan May in this one. Fryer, bullet pass inside. Travers the finish. What a find, though, from Fryer. And Fryer rips it away from Mitten. And Travers again. 4 quick points for him. Hill, it's just Sam Hill on her own at the moment. As Smith comes to help. Hill still has it. Hill looking to go it alone from 6 feet. Great patient play from Sam Hill, not panicking, looking to get to her spot. Fryer. Again, patient build-up play from the Steelers, and Travers again, 6 early points in this fourth quarter for him. Great find from Harvey. Hill. Jess White for company. Shot clock in single figures for Reading. Hill now sees a bit of a lane here, but cut off by Bates as Smith goes off the window. Fryer a 3, that's short. Ball was loose and White just about nipped away there by Hill as a whistle has gone. Mitten. Reading just looking to get into their offensive groove right now. Mitten nearly lost the ball there. Shot clock down to 5. Smith. That would have been a long 2, but hits the bottom of the backboard. Here is Fryer. Lobs it to Bates. Whistle has gone. Will that count? No, it will not. It'll be an end-line ball. Fryer. Bates, that's short. Rebounded by Elliott Smith, and now it's a race to the ball. Smith, under a great amount of pressure from Harvey and Fryer, doesn't get that to fall. Reading, over the years, famed for their transition basketball. Bates, bobbing and weaving his way in, doesn't get it to fall. Fryer on the follow. Ball is loose, it smacks Sam Hill on the back, and Daniel Smith can't keep it in. Harvey. Over 3 minutes played in the fourth. Harvey goes to around 6 feet, banks home the floater. And now pressure defense here from Sheffield. Sam Hill is all alone. Bates can't keep up with her. And Sam Hill puts it down. Brilliant chair control there from Hill. Bates just could not get in front. Fryer. Finds Harvey. Outside it goes to Bates from the elbow. That's short. And it's rebounded by Elliott Smith. May's got to get it over the timeline here. And a whistle has gone. It's a foul, I believe, on Fryer. Timeout has been called by the Steelers with 5:50 to play in this one. Well, Lee Fryer and George Bates there, the number 33 and 94 that you just saw on your screen, have certainly been difference makers here today. Here is May. Smith fading away, instead doesn't go for the shot. Elliott Smith cutting to the basket, but had to stop at the foul line. Here he is on the ball. Hill does well off the ball to create space and goes to the hoop and scores. Sam Hill with 6 points in her Rockets debut here today. Of course, that points tally just off memory, I will admit. Here is Thompson inside getting the finish. And sadly, we don't have live stats for this game. Here is May. Elliott Smith finds Hill under the basket. Good defense from the Steelers. Elliott Smith kicks it out. Hill buries it. As the shot is up, no good from Wilson. 4:20 to play here in this one, and the Steelers looking home and dry. And for Reading, it's all about finishing strong here as Smith will go to the line. Good find from Tom Elliott Smith. And Daniel Smith will head to the stripe. Smith gets the first of four. Reading have been fairly consistent from the line here today. There have been positives for this Rockets team. But first half execution certainly has let them down as Jade Loughlin comes into the game. And Alex Mitten heads to the bench. Williams. Wilson has it. Marked by Hill. Williams still has it. Williams a two, no. Rebounded by Dan Smith. Now Rockets looking to push, especially with Bates and Fryer on the bench, and potentially now for the remainder of this contest. However, a turnover as Luke Holland gets the steal. And now Holland has it. Gives it up to Thompson. Thompson inside. May has found multiple ways to penetrate the Steelers' defense, and defensively as well has been absolutely patient, has been strong, and has really been a factor as he makes the first. (51-80). And he makes them both. As said, it's been the one part of Reading's game that's been fairly consistent today, has been their foul shooting. They've been very positive in the second half of play. It's just that the first two quarters really let them down. Lots to work on for Grant Barker's team as we enter the final 2 minutes of play, and you can sense the Steelers now just letting the clock run as Joseph Williams buries a shot from the free throw line. Todd Travers will come in momentarily for the Rockets. Lachlan Smith has space. Lachlan now cutting to the basket and sets the screen. 8 to shoot for Reading. Tom Elliott-Smith, the lefty, is fouled before the shot went up. And that'll actually put Sheffield in the penalty, so Reading will get shots at the foul line. Just one team foul for Reading in this fourth period, as Sam Hill, a very solid Reading Rockets debut for her. She'll make her way to the bench, and Todd Travers will come in for what you believe to be the final minute and 47 for him. One of the standouts of the Reading Rockets' second team, as Elliott-Smith misses the first. Elliott-Smith buries the second. 1:45 to play in this one. Thompson had space. Lachlan cut him off. And the layup is good for Kamari Parker. His first field goal of this game. Seeing some good minutes off the bench. Elliott-Smith too short. Gets his own rebound though. And at the second attempt puts it in. As we enter the final minute, Thompson inside, missed by Holland. Ball is loose, it's still a Sheffield possession. Matt Wilson, the mid-range, no good. As we wind down the final 40 seconds of this one, it's job well done for the Steelers. Reading played very well in spurts, but that first half of play really hampered them in a game that was a little bit in doubt beforehand due to a leak in the roof. These two teams have played on. Team manager for the Reading Rockets, Lou Barker, has been by the Steelers bench pretty much the entire game as she shares a couple of words with George Bates. A few smiles on those faces. Of course, the game that was supposed to take place in the BCB today between the Reading Rockets and the City of Birmingham Rockets called off due to that leak on the floor. As the seconds will now tick down, Reading will learn their fate And the Steelers will get an 84-55 victory here at Loddon Valley. Congratulations to the Sheffield Steelers, but a positive performance by the Aldermore Reading Rockets. Plenty for them to reflect and work on going into their games going forward. But it's certainly been the Lee Fryer and George Bates show here for the Sheffield Steelers. They are 84-55 winners. I've been John Hobbs. Have a pleasant afternoon wherever you are.